And at this point, your boy Ross Chastain's ends up taking the lead and never looking back. Byron made a charge, but not enough. The one car is a winner in 2024, buddy. Congratulations to you.
Too little, too fucking late.
At
At least he got it, but too
yeah.
little, too fucking late. It's the same feeling as when he won the championship race last season.
Yep. Like, if only he was in it. And welcome back to another episode of your favorite couch potatoes, a Redneck Boys edition. We are finally back. Boy, we got a lot of work to do today. We got a lot of races to cover. We're so sorry we've missed you guys, but we're back now. And we got to finish the round of 12 and get into the finish the round of 16 and get into the round of 12. But before that, we'll hop into some news. But let me make sure I introduce myself. Jeez, it's been so long and I haven't even, I'm all out of works or whatever. But yeah, of course, your host Jay Cubs, joined as always by Big Country. So excited you're back and we're back. So let's hop into it. Did want to talk about a little strategy thing from Atlanta. I heard this after we recorded our last podcast, but Denny Hamlin, he went into Atlanta with the mindset of just getting 20 points. All he wanted to do was ride around, hang in the back, avoid the wrecks, and just get 20 points. And Kyle Busch actually went on this new NASCAR show. I'm forgetting the name. Sorry about that for them, but it's a pretty good show. But he went on there and talked about how the control of his car was just all kinds of out of whack, and he didn't know like what the difference was from the front in traffic, in the back, vice versa, and so he was saying that they had to work on it every pit stop, and because Denny was just hanging back, they didn't really know what was going on in Denny's car. And when he did try to make his way forward and stuff, he wasn't quite ready for it. So yeah, just an interesting strategy there. We obviously talked about how he got in the wreck last week. What are your thoughts on just trying to get 20 points in the first race of the NASCAR playoffs?
Well, I mean, I can definitely understand why. I mean, he's got a lot of points, right? I mean, he did lose some, correct? Because he did have
Yeah.
the fine and whatever what have you, the violation he pulled. But he's still got a pretty sizable lead, I feel like, in the playoffs, and I mean, no reason to really push it when all you got to do is at least get 20 points. And I think that's kind of what their strategy was, at least coming into this round, the round of 16. So
Yeah. The only thing there is that you just don't get all those bonus points and stage points and everything, and then he did end up getting caught up in the wreck. So I can't remember exactly. We'll get into how the rest of the round went for him, obviously, but I can't remember if he was exactly like if he was below or just barely above the cut line, but he basically lost all those points that he did have because one, didn't get any points and then got caught up in the wreck. So I don't like the strategy, and I think nobody on the show really liked it. And just because those stage points are so viable, and we'll talk about it too, because we were surprised after Atlanta, a lot of guys who had good races, Cindric, Suarez, Bowman, guys we were, saying that were going to get cut, had good leads. So that's where I view that kind of strategy, just hanging back, especially a car that's as dominant, a driver that's as dominant at super speedways. So, but
well, there's a reason. There's a reason why he hasn't won a championship yet.
yeah, exactly. And, when you look at that, and every year, it's not like he's going to be done anytime soon, but every year it's like Kyle Busch with the Daytona 500. It just like, is it ever going to happen? Is it ever going to happen? And just a odd strategy to join it out. And you're exactly right. Maybe that's why he hasn't won anything so far. So, well, let's talk about his team that he owns and driver Bubba Wallace, who we talked about, I think last time, about how the charter extension or the charter talks between 23 and 11 and NASCAR were stalling Bubba's extension. Haven't heard anything on the charter agreement yet, but Bubba did sign a multi-year extension to stay with 2311 Racing. Again, like we said, no surprises here. I definitely think that he's getting better year by year, and he's obviously a big part of starting that team. And I think he's a face of that team, and as long as he can continue to improve, win a race or two a year, I think he'll be with 2311 as long as he wants to be.
Yeah, and that's the thing, though. I mean, I feel like he's kind of. It seems like he is getting better as the races go, but he had the same outcome almost as what he did last season. Didn't win a race during the season, and so you don't secure your spot in that playoff spot, and so you're racing at the end of the season to try to get there. And and like you said, he is the face of 2311 Racing. I feel like we talk about Bubba. I mean, a lot more than Reddick, and I feel like that's just because. I feel like Bubba has a little bit more of a personality with him, and Reddick is kind of a quiet guy. And I think he's definitely a face of that team, and he'll definitely be there for a long time.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's move along to my favorite news segment. So it didn't even take the end of the 2024 NASCAR season for Corey LaJoie to lose his ride. They kicked him out. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not sure. I've never seen quite something like this. I've seen drivers switch like for single races and stuff like that. Like I know Kyle Busch, he got mad when he wrecked one time, and Junior came into the 5 car, finished the race and stuff, and while he was with a different team. But Justin Haley and Corey LaJoie are going to switch rides, and so it ended up being just this last week at Kansas that they officially switched rides. Justin Haley in the 7 and Corey LaJoie in the 51 for Rick Ware Racing. And with that announcement, it looked like Justin Haley is going to be, and he was the favorite to go in that 7 car, because he had worked with Spire Motorsports before, I believe. So Justin Haley will take over the 7 car next season.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, this is something that's really unheard of, and they must have just really been done with Corey LaJoie. Just wrecking that 7 car every week, man. They're just tired of spending all the money on the driver that can't keep his car under control. But yeah, so I mean, yeah, it's definitely a weird thing. Maybe this is just like Justin Haley's probably just treating this like a preseason for his next season in the 7 car. So
yeah. All right. Well, that wraps up our news segment. So let's get into the races. The last race, or the first race that we haven't covered yet, I guess, is Watkins Glen. That would be race 2 in the round of 16. And started out well for your boy, Ross Chastain. He started on the pole, and it did not start well for my guy, Kyle Busch, because of the guy you were talking about who can't stop wrecking the car, Corey LaJoie. He goes into the bus stop just way wrong. I mean, he didn't have a angle, he didn't have room, he had too much speed, just everything, and he gets into Kyle Busch collecting a lot of other drivers. Hamlin was involved. And then it was kind of weird, but Blaney had a separate incident, I guess a broken steering column, and it happened at the exact same time. And Corey LaJoie later on his podcast talked about how it was his fault. There was no excuse for this move. And he feels bad because it ruins a day. And I think he also talked about, and of course it happened to be Kyle Busch, where me and the 8 car are going to be tied together forever now. And I'm like, yep, definitely. You definitely are. But yeah, no surprises that he's got in that day. And I think, yeah, Kyle Busch, he could never really recover from that. He was running around 30th, low 20s or something the rest of the day. So we did lose another high powered name, especially in the road courses. AJ Allmendinger, unfortunately, he got collected in a restart, lost pace, and came off the track, wasn't able to recover from that. And then we actually had something good happen for Martin Truex. He won a stage. Stage one winner. And then along with a lot of guys, like we said, we were just talking about that we thought would miss, get a lot of stage points. Bowman, Suarez, Briscoe, and Cindric, they finished second through sixth in that stage and, collect a lot of points. So good stage for those guys. And Truex, obviously, trying to make it. But yeah, of course, Corey LaJoy's got to find a way to fuck it up for the 8 car.
See, I think that just going off of this one stage, and how Denny Hamlin was saying that he only needed 20 points and stuff like that. I feel like all these top drivers that we're talking about that have been dominant all season are kind of taking a back seat, and these guys that nobody thinks are going to be there in the round of 12, um, just
Pushing it
they
harder.
they're pushing it harder. They want it. They want
Yeah.
it more. The other guys are taking a back seat. They're oh yeah, we got it. I mean, we're way better than these guys. There's no way that these guys are gonna even have a chance. And that's what it seems like to me, is that these guys just want it more.
That's a great point. I haven't really thought about it that way, but that's honestly like a great point. That's why, they're going to be risky and stay out in front in those stages and use that. And Atlanta's a great place to do that, a super speedway. And then going into Watkins Glen, like all having those good of it days. I mean, I know some of those drivers are pretty good on road courses, but like Cindric being up there, Briscoe's pretty awesome for them. And yeah, maybe these high power guys that have a little bit more of a buffer, they are kind of, yeah, taking a back seat. But a lot of times, like in this, especially after race one, it got flip flop. We talked about how Kyle Larson was involved in a wreck and lost almost all of his points. So it's good for those guys that need to make it in and have that stronger strategy, like you said, and really go for it. So let's move on to stage two. Not as much happening here. Suarez ended up getting turned around, stuck in some gravel, and that ended up bringing the caution because he couldn't get back going. And Chastain and SVG were actually running a strategy. I don't know what you thought about this, but they were trying to stay out a lot longer than everybody. So they were out there in front, and then the caution, brings the field back together. I think everybody ends up pitting anyways after the stage, and Chastain wins the stage under caution. So yeah, that's pretty much the only thing happening in stage two there.
Yeah, I mean, just these two. I mean, neither one of them have a chance, and obviously neither one of them are in the playoffs. And so, try out some new strategies on some tracks and maybe kind of see how that runs. That's kind of what I think about all that. So,
Yeah. All right. Well, let's get into the third and final stage where, like we say, all the exciting stuff happens. And we start off with Hamlin trying to force his way into the entry of those S's, and there was no room. He ends up wrecking himself, so ends up really putting him in an even worse hole there. And then Chris Buescher, out of nowhere, seemingly comes in. He makes the pass with the lead on your boy Ross Chastain with about 30 to go. And then the next thing that happened after that was Byron and Keselowski. Boy, this was a crazy wreck. It's awesome that Keselowski's okay, but yeah, right in those S's again where there's just not that much room, and they get into it, and Byron's car pops up onto the wall and then comes back down onto Brad Keselowski's window net, and it looked like the tire was just about in there, but yeah, it must have been okay. So nothing kind of crazy there, just a bad look, but everybody's okay except for their cars. Ends up ending their day as well. Another couple playoff drivers. Um, and then another favorite for these road courses, Tyler Reddick, he ends up spinning to get to set up one of the most like fun overtime finishes. And it kind of reminded me, I know this was before your time watching NASCAR, but back in the days when Keselowski and Marcos Ambrose would have these crazy battles where they switch the lead back and forth multiple times in the lap. They're bumping, banging, and everything. So we got a little bit more of that. So like I said, Buescher had the lead, had a comfortable lead, but we got to this overtime finish, and SVG was ready to take it from him. And we know how good he can be, especially in those short lap situations when he needs to execute. So he goes down into turn one, gets Busher loose, and is able to take the lead from him and gets a pretty sizable lead. So I thought SVG might have run away with this one, but Busher's able to close the gap. SVG, he's able to get to the back of SVG in the bus stop, and then bumps him after that, gets around him, and gets the win from SVG. So we get a non-playoff driver with the win at Watkins Glen. And then to talk about more of the top five, because apparently I never do with its mine, Ross Chastain ends up getting fourth. And Spire Motorsports has a great day. Even Corey LaJoy got an eighth place finish. Hocevar finished third, and Zane Smith finished fifth. So, cool thing to note for that team. Having a really good day there. But yeah, that's Watkins Glen. Any thoughts on the end of stage 3 there?
Yeah, you're only giving out the top five because I gave you shit for it. That's all that is. At least Kyle Busch wasn't in that this time. It was the better driver in Ross Chastain, So
there you go.
No, but yeah, crazy finish. Obviously, two guys that aren't playoff drivers battling it out there in the end, and just a crazy race. Always in stage 3, like always.
Yep.
Yeah, good for Spire Motorsports with sorry, go ahead. What were you saying?
Oh no, you're good. Go ahead.
Yeah, but no, good on Spire Motorsports for getting all their drivers in the top 10. So, maybe Corey LaJoy finally wanted to save his ride.
Too little, too late there, right? But no, I was just going to say I love Watkins Glen. I think it's my favorite road course on the circuit, just because there's a lot more chance for higher speeds. There's longer straightaways and everything, and I think it just kind of creates more excitement. It's built better, I feel like. Not that the other ones are terrible, but it's just kind of my favorite. So never disappoints for me. I know that like all NASCAR races, the first couple stages sometimes can get a little boring. They can just kind of run around there. Everybody's trying to make sure they don't fuck up anything too bad, but it always usually seems to have an exciting finish. So let's go back to Bristol for the second time this year. So this was the third and final race of the round of 16. And it starts well for Alex Bowman. He gets the pole and gets out to an early lead. And then another one of our wreckers, John Hunter Nemechek. I feel bad for the guy because he just seems to get these crazy, loses it. Sometimes it's on his own. This time he actually got contact from Eric Jones, spun out, brings out the first caution. And other than that, Kyle Larson took the lead from Bowman and just ran away with it and dominated stage 1.
Not surprising. Larson on them short tracks, man.
Exactly. And then get into stage 2. Not much happening in this stage either. Ty Gibbs was the biggest kind of news. He got the pit road penalty, which sent him to the back of the field, which really put him in a hole because he was one of those drivers on the bubble, and this put him below. So put him in a bad spot to try to make it up. And then other than that, Joey Logano brings out the caution in stage 2 after Burton got into the back of him, spinning him out. But not as big of a deal for Logano because obviously he won at Atlanta. He's already secured, so not too big of a deal there for the 22 team. But, always good to see a Penske driver spin out. I always feel that way anyways. But, yeah, and then Kyle Larson winning stage 2, just leading pretty much every lap. Nothing surprising there. Again, continue with no surprises. So that's kind of the theme of this race. In stage 3, you guessed it, Corey LaJoy brings out the first caution in stage 3 after contact with Josh Berry. And then this sets up for Martin Truex Jr. to get caught with a too fast entering speeding penalty, putting him almost 20 points below the cut line at this point. And I don't know if you heard, but he even said on the radio, he's like, "I'm so sorry, guys. That was all my fault. I just fucked it up for everybody." So terrible Terrible for for Truex, kind of um, just indicative of what his season has been all along. So
Mm-hmm.
then we get into a little bit later, Eric Jones getting kind of in people's way again. Suarez and Ty Gibbs trying to fight for points, make it through, and he caused a little bit of backup for both of those drivers. Trying to get through, but that's about it. Other than that, Kyle Larson wins all three stages, dominates the race, and it just one of the it's kind of surprising because I don't know if you remember, but that race that Denny Hamlin did get penalized for was in Bristol, and that was when we had the huge tire fall off, and you had cars, blazing through the field and all this different strategy, but we just didn't have that this time, and just kind of a boring race overall, but some surprising names. I know that we both had a lot of these guys getting through to the round of 12. We both had Harrison Burton getting eliminated, so no surprise there. But Truex, Keselowski, and Ty Gibbs all are eliminated. So some big names, obviously a couple champions there. And yes, Ty Gibbs. So I know looking at my playoff grids going into the round of 12, I think we picked pretty similar. The only difference we had was I think I had Briscoe making it over Bowman. You had Bowman. But other than that, Kyle Larson, Bell, Reddick, Byron, Blaney, Hamlin, Elliott, Logano, and then Cindric, Suarez, Bowman, and Briscoe all making it to the round of 12. So good for those guys. Sad to see a couple former champions go, but yeah, what are your thoughts on Bristol and then the round of 16 as a whole?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, Bristol kind of a boring race this time. Larson dominating a short track race, not surprised at all.
Yep.
Um, but yeah, I mean, those Martin Truex kind of how his season has gone. Should have guessed he wasn't going to make it.
Right.
Um, with the kind of mistakes him and his crew has been making all season. Um, and then Brad, I was surprised about Brad Keselowski not making it because I felt like he was actually made a resurgence this year
Yeah.
and might have been able to do something in the playoffs this year. Ty Gibbs, this is his first year in the playoffs, correct?
Yes.
Last
Yep.
year he didn't make it, so
He
rookie
did
in the
not make it last
playoffs.
year. Yeah.
But he started off the season pretty well, and kind of everything just went downhill from there. So I mean, not surprised Gibbs went out, but definitely thought that he was going to make it. If that
Yeah.
makes any sense. So
Just based off the other, like you said, I feel like a lot of people's brackets are probably having Cindric, Suarez, and or Bowman Briscoe, getting eliminated. You think that Ty Gibbs is just a titch above those guys. So yeah, kind of surprising there. So I think that's kind of how I feel as well with that.
yeah, so excited to see how this round of 12 goes.
Yes, sir. Well, let's get into the first race of it at Kansas Motor Speedway. And we start out with a lap one caution with Josh Berry in the 16 of Ty Dillon. Kind of a weird thing. Everybody's checking up. Chris Buescher checked up really hard, stacked everybody back in the field. And then later on in stage one, Kyle Larson had a right rear tire go down. So both races to start out each round, the number 5 has some trouble. Not as bad for him this race, but he was not able to make it back. He was lap down and was just trying to get back on the lead lap. He ended up finishing 26th in this race, so not as bad, but definitely not a great way to start it yet again. And then other than that, Christopher Bell was pretty dominant in this race. We kind of expect those Toyotas at Kansas. Usually Tyler Reddick, is a big favorite here, but the Toyotas overall pretty good at Kansas Motor Speedway. But we saw kind of a theme that started out here where if you get a little too close, because everybody's riding that wall pretty high, and if you get a little too close or just go in at the wrong angle, you get loose. You kind of lose the handle on it. So Bell did that and got into the wall with 8 laps to go, and Byron was able to take the stage win from him after that. And then going into stage 2, we had Eric Jones bring out the first caution, which set up for some different strategy. being Kyle Busch and Christopher Bell. I think Kyle Busch was from second or 10th, and Christopher Bell's from fifth, taking 2 tires, and then everybody else took 4. So yeah, I like that. Like we said, he's got to get that win somehow. I like the different strategy. He had started the race in third, so had a pretty good qualifying effort, but fell back. So like that we're able to get that back. And then going forward, Daniel Hemrick, he got loose coming out of 4, same kind of thing. Just getting a little too close to that wall, ends up spinning out, so brings out the caution. And then the next caution we have, of course, you guessed it, the number 7 car makes contact with 42. So both of our guys, oh, wait, this was the race. So Corey LaJoy is not in the 7 car. It wasn't his fault this time. Must just be a curse on that 7 car or something. Justin Haley gets into them. So, and then the only other thing happening really here, Hamlin, he had 2 separate loose wheel issues in the same stage. Can't imagine how frustrating that might be. You think that oftentimes that happens to a driver, once every few races or something like that. Pit stop, they're trying to go a little too fast, but you never really see it happen twice. So I can't imagine how mad the 11 car was with that. But other than that, Bowman winning stage 2. So another good day for Bowman, and way to start out the round of 12 to get all those points. Getting into stage 3 got a little bit more exciting, at least for us, though, because Ross Chastain and Kyle Busch, they end up kind of being the class of the field and have a really good battle. And it started with about 70 to go. Kyle got Chastain with 62, led for a few laps. Chastain got him back, and then Kyle Busch got the lead back. And after that, kind of was set and sail. It was green flag racing for a while. We're looking good. Kyle's coming up on some lap traffic, and one of them happened to be a playoff driver, Chase Briscoe. So he's not just going to give his lap away. And boy, here we go again. Because Kyle Busch trying to get by him, gets pinched up. I don't really blame Briscoe. I wish that maybe Kyle, but the thing is, Kyle had tried to be patient. You can't just let Briscoe be in front of you. Chastain's going to catch back up. And he tried to make a move. There just wasn't quite enough room. He ends up getting loose on the outside of the wall and makes contact, spins out with about 40 to go.
Makes sense.
Yeah. Man, I just couldn't believe it. I was like, you know what? Finally, it looks like we got this. And
Kyle Busch
there we go.
has another race where it seems like he's gonna win and just fucks it all up at the end.
Gotta be kidding me, dude. You gotta be kidding me. This is so frustrating. At least he's like running better, but now it's like almost feeling worse than when he was just dog shit. Like he's in position, like you said, and just gotta rip my hearts out and hearts of all the Rowdy Nation. I know he took the blame for it too. He said he hated it for his RCR and ECR guys, and we should have had that one. They brought him a really fast car, really good car today. But yeah, so there we go. We are going to Talladega next week, which hopefully that's where he won one of his races last year. They're always strong there. We'll see, but you never know. But yeah, time's ticking, and we got some tracks that are not very good for the 8 car. So, but let's get back into this race. After that, Carson Hocevar was the next car to bring up a caution, sets up a restart with about 20 to go. And at this point, your boy, Ross Chastain, ends up taking the lead and never looking back. Byron made a charge, but not enough. The one car is a winner in 2024, buddy. Congratulations to you.
Too little, too fucking late. At least he got it, but too little, too fucking late. It's the same feeling as when he won the championship race last season.
Yep. If only he was in it. Same, but hey, at least you got that win. I know it's still huge for these programs and everything. Chastain was very excited about it, of course, getting the watermelon smash and everything. Lots of wasted watermelon this season. So at least they finally got to use one of them. But
Mm.
man, yeah, I guess it's not as exciting because Kyle Busch is on that 20-year long streak that is about to be broken. Hopefully not, but it's awesome. Yeah, for the one car to get that win. But yeah, like you said, if only he could have a little bit better of a season, had made it, you'd be looking at a guy that could possibly challenge in the playoffs. So, all right, but let's talk about those playoffs. So this updated standings now are after Byron, even though he didn't win the race, he was the one that came out with the most points. So he has a 34-point lead over the cut line. Both Blaney and Christopher Bell have a 28-point lead. Larson's able to manage an 18-point lead over the cut line, so not too terrible for him there. Kind of can't afford a mistake, but have a little bit of cushion. Hamlin has 11 points over. Bowman is 8 points over. And then Elliott and Logano are both 4 points over. So that brings our bubble drivers to be Reddick after not having that great of a day. Like I said, usually he's very dominant at this track, but he ends up finishing 25th, and he is 4 points below the cut line. So a little surprising there. But then the other guys, Suarez is 14 points below. Briscoe 25 and Cindric 29. So for those three drivers, I mean, Suarez is definitely possible. And if you're able to win, or, anybody can win at Talladega, like we say, but 25, 29 points, those are pretty big holes to start the round of 12 with.
Yeah, no, it's a big hole you got to dig yourself out of, and I just don't. I thought these guys were getting cut in the round of 16, so I
Right.
have very little to no hope for Chase Briscoe and Austin Cedric unless they can pull something out at Dega. Like we
Yep.
say every time, Dega's a wild card, and unless they can pull something out there, I don't think that they can make up this. And then Daniel Suarez, I mean, he's kind of in the same spot too. 14 points down is not the biggest hole, but you got to have some pretty good races. And based off of the first round of the round of 16, I mean, he can do it.
Yeah.
Especially if these top drivers want to sit back and try to, just be
Be safe.
safe. He can do it. But Reddick is the surprising one because he did have such a good season. He had a pretty good season that towards the end also, so he is a surprising one to be down there. But I have no worry that he can get back up there into the top 8.
Yep, he is the spring winner at Talladega, so definitely has proved that he can get it done there. And yeah, like you say, if you run a little bit more aggressively and you can try to stay clean and stay towards the front, get some stage points, that'll go a long way to making your bubble look a lot better going into Charlotte. So, well, let's get into our power ranking segment. Talking with number 12, Austin Cindric, who ends up dropping 2 positions from last week. Nothing surprising here. It's kind of similar to what we got in the. Actually, I'll just go with the top 4. Looking at it now, they're pretty much switching it up to exactly the point standings. So we got Cindric at 12, Briscoe at 11, Suarez at 10, going up 2, and then Tyler Reddick at number 9, going down 5. What are your thoughts about those first 4 drivers there in the power rankings?
I'm not surprised that NASCAR's doing power rankings that way.
Yeah.
At all. No, I don't think Reddick really. I mean, I guess I don't know how much he really did in the round of 16 because obviously he's down 4 points now. So, Reddick is really the only guy that's kind of surprises me down there. So,
Yeah, I would agree. Going to the next 4, we got Joey Logano dropping down 6 spots because he got that win, so he got all the way up in the power rankings. And then Chase Elliott dropping 2, Bowman going up 3, and then Denny Hamlin going up 1 to number 5.
yeah, I mean, I feel like Bowman's really the only surprise there. I mean, you could switch. I feel like I mean you should switch Reddick and Bowman for sure.
Yeah.
Just based off of the drivers and how they've driven this whole season, you know. Yeah, I mean that's probably the only thing I would change there.
Yeah. And again, matching it up exactly with the point standings. This is where we have a little bit of switch up. Bell is down 2 spots at number 4. Kyle Larson, again, down 2 spots at number 3. And then your boy that you've been clamoring for to get up into the top 5 all year. Well, they just jumped him right up to number 2, William Byron. And then Ryan Blaney up at number 1 now. So what are your thoughts here on those top 4 power ranking drivers?
Yeah, I mean, based off of the last few races, you could take Larson out of one, jump Byron up because he did score a lot of points in Kansas. And then, Blaney kind of surprises me up there at one. Um, if anything falls back, I would put him back at four. I don't have any hopes of him really winning or repeating this year. I feel like there's just too many
Oh,
drivers that are too good. So
interesting. Lots of people saying that he is looking like the favorite now. And yeah, but I would have to agree with you and not them. But I think Blaney has a shot for sure, but I'm looking at guys and yeah, getting into my power rankings. I still am looking at some drivers that I think are doing better than him and have a better chance. I'm looking at it different. I'm not going by because it is seeming like NASCAR, and I get given the power rankings a reset and just doing the playoff drivers, whoever's in there, but they seem to just reset it and just like, all right, so now this is basically race one and nobody's done anything yet. And, all right, let's just basically match up the points that are on here. But I'm going to go with kind of the whole season, and I'll, change a little bit with the playoffs and stuff because now that's the season that really matters. But still, Kyle Larson, number one in my book. I think he's still the favorite. He's shown already that he can make it back, and when he needed to, dominated an entire race. And he can do that pretty much anywhere. If he makes it to the round of 8, which I'm, pretty confident as long as nothing goes wrong, guess what the first race of the round of 8 is? Las Vegas.
mm-hmm.
Guess who dominates every single freaking year there? Kyle Larson. So not going to be surprised there. I got Christopher Bell. I'm going to put him up number 2 and put Reddick down to 3 just because I think it's been a little bit stronger as of late. Obviously, Bell's got the better point standing now, but I still think Reddick is a top 3 driver. Think he'll be able to bounce back and really contend for that title. And then I'll go Blaney at 4.
Yeah, I have no qualms about this top four because I mean I'd probably put it the exact same way.
Okay. Well, then I will put Byron up 1 into number 5. Logano down to 6. I'll bring Hamlin up 1 to 7. And then Chase Elliott down to 8. And then the bottom 4, kind of I think like what you talked about, where you switch Bowman. I put him at 9. Suarez 10, Briscoe 11, and Cindric 12.
Yeah. I mean, really, there's really not much you can change there. I mean, I thought these four drivers were getting knocked out in the round of 16. So, like I said, I feel like they deserve to be back there, and a couple of them definitely, I feel like have no chance unless they can pull out a lucky win at Dega.
Yep.
So, yeah, I have no qualms with these last ones.
Well, awesome. That's like the best I think I've ever done, at least in your eyes on my power rankings. So makes me feel a little good. Yeah, I think it's just different. I mean, we got some differences. I think I'm looking, like I said, looking at the whole season and then looking at the momentum throughout these playoffs. So that's why I have things a little bit different. I mean, like because having Hamlin lower than they do is surprising for me, but I really think that the guys that are ahead of him right now, even Logano, I hate to say it, have just been a little bit better and have been at least recently and have that momentum.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I think we just need to stop with the Kyle Larson stuff, like dropping him every time he has an unfortunate, series of events go down in a race. Like it's still been the most dominant season, and he can come out and shock the world. So, Yeah, those are my thoughts about our power rankings. But now let's get into our playoff grid. So, like we talked about, we did this last week and we got our grid set up before the Kansas race. And I don't know, I'll let you start with your picks on the round of 8.
Yeah, and I really feel like we're not going to have very much differences with this, like we did in the round of 16. I mean, we only
Yep.
had one driver different from the round of 16, um, so I'm going to start with Kyle Larson, Christopher Bell, Tyler Reddick, William Byron, Ryan Blaney, Denny Hamlin, Chase Elliott, and Joey Logano.
Yep. That's exactly what I picked. I think you just look at that, and those are the drivers that are in a different tier, especially with some of the drivers that got eliminated that were surprised. And like you said, we kind of thought, with the exception of we put one of those drivers in, being Cindric, Suarez, Bowman, and Briscoe, who we are picking to be eliminated because of Harrison Burton. Like, yeah, we picked this exact same thing. So I think this list is the round of 8, the 8 best drivers left. And yeah, there's not much you can change. Now, Bowman does have that 8-point lead, but, we're going into Talladega, so anything can happen. If he's able to, get some stage points run up front for most of the day, he could have a good lead going into Charlotte, which could set up for some interesting things. It'd be really surprising to see a guy like Reddick not make it even to the round of 8. So we'll have to see. Dega week, baby. I'm ready.
Yeah, like you said, anything can happen. It is the NASCAR playoffs. As sure as we are about these top 8 drivers, I mean, the standings are pretty wacky, with Bowman being up there 8 points and Reddick being down 4, and Larson needing basically nothing to go wrong.
Yep.
Anything can happen, and as sure as we are, like I said, with the top 8, I mean,
Anybody can win
you
it.
you
Yeah.
could potentially see Larson get kicked out. You know what I mean?
Yep.
That's the crazy thing. You could, if he has the one bad race and gets loses a lot of points on that one bad race, then it's it'll definitely toss up the playoffs.
100%. And that, if that's at Talladega, where he, let's say he wrecks out and is down below that cut line, I think you're going to see a lot of tough racing, hard racing, and guys and teams trying to push hard, make sure that they have a car to beat for Charlotte. Because if you can knock out Kyle Larson right now, if you're the rest of the field,
Oh yeah.
you automatically, rocket your shots of winning the championship up.
And
So
you'll see,
that would be the thing to do.
You'll see Larson like because I feel like Kyle Larson's a pretty aggressive driver as it is. I
Hmm.
mean, if you get him below the cut line, man, that's the fight or flight kicks in. That's
Be interesting to see. And he didn't race at Charlotte this year because of the rain and everything, and him going to do the double. So it'll be interesting to see. We don't really kind of know how Larson's car is, but it's Kyle Larson. He can win on any track. We know how dominant he is. So yeah, it'll be exciting to see. Can't wait to get into Dega. It's so awesome to be back with you guys. We're definitely sad and we missed you all, but we're glad to be back and get back into the flow of things. We're in the heat of the NASCAR playoffs, so we will definitely make sure to keep you updated through it all. So make sure to check out the episodes dropping race day morning on YouTube and Spotify, and then check out all the socials. Give us the likes, comments, follows on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube Shorts. And until next time, we'll catch you on the couch. See ya.